let's talk about Starlink Gate. So Elon Musk is under fire, hot water, for apparently not being willing to start World War III with Russia, to not allow things to escalate to nuclear conflict. There's a lot of Democrats in particular who are pointing the finger at Elon Musk very angrily, calling for an investigation into Elon Musk, really wanting the government to go after him. This is where it all began. It all began in a new book that actually dropped today. Walter Isaacson is a biographer. He's a very well-known biographer. He's written one for Steve Jobs and others. And he wrote this book that released today, Elon Musk by Walter Isaacson. And in the book, there was an excerpt that was released early. And the excerpt reads, so I'm going to read this one to you so you can hear for yourself. Throughout the evening and into the night, he personally took charge of the situation, allowing the use of Starlink for the attack, he concluded, could be a disaster for the world. So he secretly told his engineers to turn off coverage within 100 kilometers of the Crimean coast. As a result, when the Ukrainian drone subs got near the Russian fleet in Sevastopol, they lost connectivity and washed ashore harmlessly. When the Ukrainian military noticed that Starlink was disabled in and around Crimea, Musk got frantic calls and texts asking him to turn the coverage back on. Fedorov, the deputy prime minister who had originally enlisted his help, secretly shared with him the details of how the drone subs were crucial to their fight for freedom. Quote, "We made the sea drones ourselves. They can destroy any cruiser or submarine," he texted using an encrypted app. "I did not share this information with anyone. I just want you, the person who is changing the world through technology, to know this." Goes on to say, Musk replied that the design of the drones was impressive, but he refused to turn the coverage for Crimea back on, arguing the Ukraine is now going too far in inviting strategic defeat. He discussed the situation with President Biden's national security advisor, Jake Sullivan, and chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, explaining to them that he did not wish Starlink to be used for offensive purposes. He also called the Russian ambassador to assure him that Starlink was being used for defensive purposes only. If the Ukrainian attacks had succeeded in sinking the Russian fleet, it would have been like a mini Pearl Harbor and led to a major escalation, Musk says. We did not want to be part of that. So this excerpt released with Elon Musk being allegedly unwilling to turn on Starlink, which is the internet service that really has been helping Ukraine throughout the war. Elon Musk has donated about $100 million worth of Starlink to Ukraine to help them in their defense against Russia. But according to this excerpt, he did not want to be a part of any offensive attack on Russian soil, which Russia, no matter wherever you fall in the idea of who belongs where Crimea, who owns Crimea or who the people of Crimea belong to or whatever, Russia believes Crimea to be Russia. And so, and Russia's been there for quite some time now, and an attack on Crimea is an attack on Russia. Elon Musk knew this, and he would not allow his Starlinks to be used for that attack. This is now, after this came out, really predominantly warmonger-loving Democrats came out in droves, eviscerating Elon Musk, essentially calling him a treasonous traitor to the country for not backing our ally and helping them attack Russia. Walter Isaacson, however, clarified and came back in a tweet and said this: to clarify on the Starlink issue, the Ukrainians thought coverage was enabled all the way to Crimea, but it was not. They asked Musk to enable it for their drone sub-attack on the Russian fleet. Musk did not enable it because he thought, probably correctly, that it would cause a major war. So it wasn't that Starlink was there and Elon Musk turned it off. That is what the Ukrainians believed. They believed Elon had turned it off, that they had coverage. And in reality, there was not ever coverage in that area since the sanctions against Russia. Elon had turned off Starlink in that zone. But here's Anthony Blinken, surprisingly, actually almost defending Elon Musk. Now, this is where things get really interesting because the U.S. government, you think, a lot of us believe they're just aching for war with Russia. But at the same time, they're not really willing to take that extra step to provoke Russia to a nuclear war and to put us into an actual hot war with Russia. They really like this proxy war thing we got going on where we're funding Ukraine. The weapons manufacturers, they love it. They're making gobs and gobs of money off of producing weapons and having them being shipped over to, well, really, we're giving weapons that we already have to Ukraine, and then weapons manufacturers have to replenish the U.S. military. So everybody's making a lot of money on this, and they seem to really be enjoying that. without having to sacrifice any U.S. bodies. We've even seen Mitt Romney saying how great this was, that, oh, look at, Ukraine is doing all the fighting. We're not losing anybody. So this is the best war investment we've ever made. So there's a lot of people who do not want to change that. A lot of the warmongers don't want to. And this is actually evidence of that. Anthony Blinken on Jake Tapper's show on CNN, where Jake Tapper is really wanting the U.S. government to go after Elon Musk for how dare he stop a Ukrainian attack on Russia. Watch this.
So SpaceX CEO Elon Musk has recently confirmed a report that's in Walter Isaacson's new biography of Musk that last year Musk blocked access to his Starlink satellite network in Crimea in order to disrupt a major Ukrainian attack on the Russian Navy there. In other words, Musk effectively sabotaged a military operation by Ukraine, a U.S. ally, against Russia, an aggressor country that invaded a U.S. ally. Should there be repercussions for that?
Jake, I can't speak to a specific episode. Here's what I can tell you. Starlink has been a vital tool for the Ukrainians to be able to communicate with each other, and particularly for the military to communicate in their effort to defend all of Ukraine's territory. It remains so, and I would expect it to continue to be critical to their efforts. So what we would hope and expect is that that technology will remain fully available to the Ukrainians. It is vital to what they're doing.
I don't know that you can't speak to it. You won't speak to it. Musk says he was reportedly afraid that Russia would retaliate with nuclear weapons. Musk says that's based on his private discussions he had with senior Russian officials. Are you concerned that Musk is apparently conducting his own diplomatic outreach to the Russian government? Really, none of this concerns you?
Jake, I can't speak to conversations that may or may not have happened. I don't know. I'm focused on the fact that the technology itself, Starlink, has been really important to the Ukrainians. It remains so. And it should continue to be part of what they're able to call on to be able to communicate with themselves, and again, to have the military be able to communicate. Throughout this Russian aggression, we ourselves have always had to factor in what Russia may do in response to any given thing that we or others do or the Ukrainians do, and we have. But what's so critical now is that Ukraine has had real success over the past year. I was just in Ukraine, as you know. The last time I was there was almost exactly a year ago. In that year, from the last time I was there till this week, the Ukrainians have retaken more than 50% of the territory seized by Russia since February of 2022. They're now engaged in a critical counteroffensive, and we're doing everything we can to maximize our support for them, along with many other countries, so that they can be successful. Starlink is an important part of their success, and as I said, we expect that it will continue to be so.
It sounds like Starlink's so important the U.S. government doesn't want to risk offending a capricious billionaire who did some things that I think in another situation the U.S. government might want to say something about. But let's move on.
Okay. Interesting. Jake Tapper really wanting the U.S. government to do something about that Elon Musk because he was preventing Ukraine from attacking Russia directly, which, by the way, what Anthony Blinken was saying is that we even have to take into consideration our own actions and how that might result, what Ukraine might do. That has been one of the reasons why the U.S. has been hesitant to give Ukraine certain weapons, because they're afraid, okay, they're going to attack Russia with it. And that is actually, throughout the war, the U.S. has been more measured on not giving Ukraine the tools to attack Russia directly. And that is something that the U.S. has even said to Ukraine, you can't use our weapons to attack Russia. That is probably why the Ukrainians said to Elon Musk, we made these drones. These are ours. Don't worry, they're not U.S. weapons, because they know that that's against the rules for the U.S. We do not want them attacking Russia. But Jake Tapper there sounds like he's salivating at the option of why can't Ukraine just be attacking Russia whenever they want, even with U.S. weapons, even with U.S. companies' technology, which would be the same, no different. Using Starlink to attack Russia would be no different than using Lockheed Martin missiles to attack Russia, which is something the U.S. government has explicitly said, we do not want you doing. At this point, that might be changing. We're going to get into that. Let's hear what Rachel Maddow has to say about Elon Musk and his defiance to attack Russia. Here she is.
Doing with them. The Walter Isaacson, much hyped biography of Elon Musk that comes out tomorrow includes a story about the Ukrainian military planning to launch an attack on Russian Navy ships in port in Crimea. And per Mr. Isaacson's account, Elon Musk personally took action to make sure the Ukrainian military would not be able to do that. Mr. Musk making sure that the Ukrainian military could not use his Starlink satellite internet network, which is what Ukraine uses for connectivity on the battlefield, to advance that operation. He got personally involved to make sure Ukraine had its hands tied in battle. It's reported in Mr. Isaacson's biography. It was first reported by The Economist in October. Then last month, in The New Yorker, reporter Ronan Farrow reported more detail about how Elon Musk has been stopping Ukrainian forces from using this crucial supply line, from using Starlink in Kherson and Zaporizhia and Kharkiv and Donetsk and Luhansk. Musk has been geofencing all of those places in Ukraine, fencing those places off from the Starlink satellite network, deliberately to hamstring Ukraine's military, deliberately to stop Ukraine defending its territory in this war against Russia after Russia invaded them. So, I mean, not to get too simple here, but Mr. Musk is American. He's an American citizen. And it is the explicit, out loud, not at all hidden, totally overt, totally emphatic policy of the United States government to support Ukraine in its war against Russia after Russia invaded them. We provide Ukraine, our ally, lots of military aid and training and intelligence and all sorts of other assistance. They are our ally in that war. But there's this one American private citizen who is intervening to try to stop Ukraine from winning the war, to try to stop Ukraine from defending itself against this Russian invasion, trying to stop it and, in fact, stopping it by turning their communication lines on and off at will as he sees fit, or as someone sees fit. Because here's the crucial thing. In Mr. Isaacson's new book and in Mr.
Okay, so she's wrong on that. The U.S. government actually, she's saying he's an American and he should be helping our allies, and Ukraine's our ally and we should be doing everything that we can for them. And that is absolutely not true. And it hasn't been true throughout this war. The U.S. government has actually been measured on what Ukraine is allowed to do. In fact, here's a Washington Post article at U.S. behest. Ukraine held off anniversary attacks on Russia, saying that Kiev's head of military intelligence planned bold strikes deep behind enemy lines that unnerved officials in Washington. And they essentially said, we told them, we're not wanting you to do that. And that was just recently, saying that back in Washington, officials were secretly monitoring the Ukrainians' plans. The White House had long worried that attacks inside Russia could provoke an aggressive response from the Kremlin. So saying on February 22nd, 2 days before the anniversary, the CIA circulated a new classified report. The HUR had agreed at Washington's request to postpone strikes on Moscow. The document's part of a trove of classified information allegedly leaked on a gaming server by a 21-year-old member of the National Guard don't explain precisely who interceded and why the Ukrainians agreed to stand down. But they offer a specific example of a broader tension that has characterized much of the war. Ukraine, eager to bring the fight to Russia's home turf, is sometimes restrained by the United States, which has tried to avoid escalating the conflict into a direct fight between U.S. and Russian forces. So I don't know where Jake Tapper or Rachel Maddow have been, clearly not reporting actual news, because if they were, then they would have known this, that actually the U.S.'s policy has been to not allow Ukraine to attack Russia, using American weapons. Guess what Starlink is? An American weapon in a way, certainly an American company. Elizabeth Warren, however, you didn't see that one coming, right? Now, she's also a warmonger, it turns out. She's going after Musk as well. She's recently said, quote, "The Congress needs to investigate what's happened here and whether we have adequate tools to make sure foreign policy is conducted by the government and not by one billionaire." What the hell is she talking about? It would have been more of him conducting foreign policy if he said to Ukraine, okay, I'll turn it back on so you can go ahead and attack Russia. Go ahead. I'm going to let you use my American-made weaponry, technology for you to go and attack Russia. That would have been a billionaire going and making U.S. foreign policy decisions without the consultation of the U.S. military. That's what that would have been. Not, hey, no, I'm not going to let you use my weapons. But yeah, sure, go ahead and use my tech. Go ahead, by all means. But, look, a lot of people have been going after Musk for a while, as Elizabeth Warren in particular. She's really hated the guy and really been going after him. But we've got, at this point, Elon Musk is facing DOJ civil rights division. They're investigating SpaceX for not hiring refugees. You've also got the DOJ and the SEC investigating Tesla over Musk's secret glass house project. City of San Francisco is also investigating Musk for his big X sign on the building that they said was against the rules. And by the way, Elon Musk, so I had to look this up because I didn't know about this glass house project, but apparently this is according to Architectural Digest. It's described internally as a house for Musk. One rendering showed a striking glass building resembling Manhattan's Fifth Avenue Apple store, complete with bedrooms, bathrooms, and a kitchen. And another iteration shows a twisted hexagon on a waterfront land with the Tesla factory in the background. So it's like a glass house, and apparently the SEC is investigating him for this. So, they're going after him for anything and everything, including how dare he not start nuclear war with Russia? What was this eccentric billionaire thinking? What a dick, right? Like, why didn't he just let us have war with Russia? Okay, so this is what Elon Musk actually had to say about it. Here he is at the All In Podcast Summit. I believe this was just last night. This is what he had to say about this expert and about his refusal to turn on Starlink for Ukraine to attack Russia.
But at the time this happened, the region around Crimea was actually turned off. Now, the reason it was turned off was, actually originally was because the United States has sanctions against Russia, and we're not allowed to actually, and that includes Crimea in the sanctions, and we're not allowed to actually turn on connectivity to a sanctioned country without explicit government approval, which we did not have from the U.S. government. So basically, Ukraine didn't give us any advance warning or heads up or anything. We just got the sort of urgent calls from the Ukrainian government saying that we needed to turn on Crimea. It's like in the middle of the night, basically. And we're like, "What are you talking about?
You up?
What's it for?" And then, we basically figured out that this was kind of like a Pearl Harbor type attack on Sebastopol, on the Russian fleet in Sebastopol. So they're really asking us to really proactively take part in a major act of war. While we certainly have huge support for the Ukrainian government, the Ukrainian government is not in charge of U.S. People or companies. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
And Elon, if I could just...
Yeah. But I should say that, although I'm not President Biden's biggest fan, if I had received a presidential directive to turn it on, I would have done so, because I do regard the president as the chief executive officer of the country. Whether I want that person to be the president or not, I still respect the office. And so if I gotten a request from the president type of thing, from the American president, to be clear, then I would have turned it on, but no such request came through.
That's a really interesting point. And what Chamath is referring to is you're now being attacked. I saw there was Jake Tapper the other day on CNN interviewing our Secretary of State. He was all lathered up, basically attacking you for this. David.
To his credit, Secretary Blinken was actually quite supportive, despite the absurd, accusations and leading questions of Jake Tapper on CNN.
Yeah, he didn't take the bait, to his credit.
To Secretary Blinken in this regard for not, taking the bait at all.
Yeah. Well, to me, this is an example of no good deed goes unpunished. Because if you had never given...
I hope some good deeds that go unpunished.
So it may not be long-lived, the U.S.'s stance on allowing Ukraine to attack Russia. We just got word also from Reuters. This came out yesterday or today that the Biden administration is close to approving the shipment of longer-range missiles packed with cluster bombs to Ukraine, giving Kiev the ability to cause significant damage deeper within Russian-occupied territory. Curious the timing of this, if this is because of the whole debacle with Elon Musk and a lot of the liberal news media and establishment inside of Washington saying, oh my gosh, how dare this eccentric billionaire prevent Ukraine from attacking Russia? We need to be letting him do this. And so maybe the atmosphere is shifting and maybe the narrative is shifting. I hope not. Maybe the outlook is shifting and it's like, you know what? Yeah, let's just let them go for it. Let's just let them go ahead and attack Russia. So now there is this mulling around inside the Biden administration that they are apparently going to be approving this shipment of cluster munitions, which are, by the way, extremely controversial. We talked about these cluster munitions a while back when they were giving them, these are cluster bombs. They release a large number of bomblets over a wide area. They continue to pose a deadly risk long after the fighting has ended. And they're apparently going to be sending now they were using these in Ukraine, and the Biden administration sent them cluster munitions for Ukraine, but it would basically contaminate the soil inside of Ukraine. Well, now these long-range cluster munitions would contaminate the soil inside of Russia, and apparently they're really close to approving those. So maybe things are shifting, and as things get more desperate for Ukraine, perhaps the U.S. is willing to say, okay, go ahead and we'll let you start attacking inside of Russia with weapons we give you. I don't know how much this whole Elon Musk Starlink Gate debacle had to do with those decisions, but pretty interesting development. Another thing that happened, maybe it wasn't the Elon Musk debacle as to why they're deciding to give these long-range munitions to Ukraine. Maybe it's just Zelensky threatening terrorism on Europe if he doesn't get what he wants. You won't believe this article. This came out from The Economist. This was just yesterday. Donald Trump will never support Putin, says Volodymyr Zelensky. This is the article. But inside the article, it says, quote, curtailing aid to Ukraine will only prolong the war, Mr. Zelensky argues, and it would create risks for the West in its own backyard. There is no way of predicting how the millions of Ukrainian refugees in European countries would react to their country being abandoned. Ukrainians have generally behaved well and are very grateful to those who sheltered them. They will not forget that generosity, but it would not be a good story for Europe if it were to drive these people into a corner. What? What? So he's saying, nice little European country you've got there. It'd be a shame if something happened to it. You don't want to piss off all the Ukrainians that you've been giving shelter to, all the Ukrainian refugees that you so kindly and generously opened up to them. And, if you don't help their country out, they're going to be pissed. And you know what happens when they're pissed? Don't know. So maybe you should be providing some long-range weapons and more help to Ukraine, because if you don't, there's an or else attached to this. This is unbelievable that this is Zelensky's tone when it comes to the war. Help us out or else. I mean, the guy has been definitely willing to do and say a lot of things in order to keep the war going and not negotiate peace with Russia. So I suppose now threatening the West and saying, do it or else or else I'm going to sick my Ukrainian refugees on you. Wow. Okay. Interesting. All right, guys, that is it for tonight's show. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate you being here. We will be back again tomorrow night with another great show, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. If you have any questions, comments, guest suggestions, topic suggestions, anything, I love hearing from you. Email me, kim@kimiverson.com. Otherwise, guys, we will see you tomorrow night with another great show. Have a good one. Good night. Bye-bye.